Let's go back to our top story now. And of course, SAA business rescue practitioners releasing a statement a short while ago about changes that will be made at the national carrier. A response from Numsa spokesperson Phakamile Hlubi Majola. She joins us via Skype. Phakamile, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. I'm looking at the statement from the business practitioners for SAA. At the very bottom, they mention job cuts. What's your response to that?
Good afternoon, Shahan, and good afternoon to your listeners. I think first and foremost, we are completely shocked and dismayed. We've just had this meeting. In fact, this meeting is underway, the meeting that you are describing, where they have issued this statement. They basically told us today, not only are we facing job cuts, but also a decision has been taken to cut 10 routes. And what we find completely shocking, unacceptable, and astonishing is that they have the audacity to release this information to the media when we are still having a discussion about this. And this tells you the kind of so-called consultation which we've been having with the business rescue practitioner. It has been nothing more than box-ticking exercise. The fact that media houses are actually discussing this as we ourselves are still processing the information is completely unacceptable.
So have they told you about the number of jobs that can be lost during this process?
I think, let me just take you back a little bit. The discussion around the job cuts was a discussion that took place on Tuesday when we had a meeting with the business rescue practitioner. They said to us that they'd had a meeting with potential funders and they needed to have this meeting because as things stand, the money that they receive from DBSA can only sustain the airline up until perhaps 1st of March. So in order for them to secure further funding, they needed to meet with lenders. It was after meeting with lenders that the lenders set conditions for further funding. And some of the conditions include massive job cuts, much more than the 944 jobs which had been predicted to be cut in November. And secondly, they set a condition that we need significantly high numbers of workers to be retrenched. This process must happen outside of a Section 189 process so that it must be achieved speedily. As Numsa and SAA, we rejected that plan. We felt it was wrong, quite frankly, that the business rescue practitioner could make this announcement without even, first of all, delivering on a business rescue plan. What is these job cuts based on? There is absolutely no rationale. There's no business rescue plan to back up the reason or the justification why we should have so many retrenchments. Secondly, as Numsa and SAA, we have put mechanisms in place to deal specifically with the burden of salaries. They have deliberately chosen not to exercise those options, and they have the audacity to come and tell us that workers must accept massive job losses when they've taken no steps to intervene where intervention was necessary.
I take it you're going to actually challenge them on this one going forward then?
Oh, absolutely. We intend to challenge them on what they're doing. What I can say at this stage is that we are looking at all our options, and this includes legal options, and we'll leave it at that.
So just let's try to find the reasoning behind all of these changes that they are announcing, Phakamile, in particular with jobs. It says that the intention to restructure the business in a manner that we can retain as many jobs as possible. This will provide a platform to a viable and sustainable future. However, a reduction in the number of employees will unfortunately be necessary. It then goes on to say that they will engage with both organized and non-organized labor to reach a solution to the problem. You are obviously very upset about this move. How are they going to reach any conclusion if they want to go ahead with job cuts and you don't?
Well, first and foremost, as I said to you, today they also dropped a bombshell of 10 more routes that will be cancelled. And again, this was something that was done without consulting labor. It was something that was done without any genuine consultation with labor, we can say. Please pardon me for the noise. People are coming back from the caucus, so I'm just going to raise my voice, and I hope you can hear me. But ultimately, our concern as labor is the very fact that this, as far as we're concerned, and we warned, as Numsa and SAA, in early December, that this voluntary business rescue by government was nothing more than liquidation dressed as voluntary business rescue. And we can see that this this is what they're doing. Because the only plan on the table is to restructure labor, but they're refusing to deal with the corrupt procurement spend, for example. They've refused to implement the training layoff, which is a scheme designed to take the burden off SAA's finances by putting workers on training so that their salaries are paid for by the seaters. They've refused to do that, but they have the audacity to come and tell us that we must accept job cuts. We will not do so lying down. As unions, we are committed to finding and ensuring that we have an actual business rescue process, a genuine process, and we will fight for this process, and we will do everything in our power to save as many jobs as we can.
Now, you're upset because this meeting is underway and they've already issued a statement about the way forward. Are you going to go back into that meeting and, as you say, fight about this situation?
Well, absolutely. In fact, we've already raised this on the platform because in the meeting they disclosed that they had completed the press statement on the issue. I mean, the level of arrogance is astonishing. You are busy engaging members and employees, and then you claim that this is a consultation, but you've already written the press statement that is to be released. It tells you the level of arrogance that we've been dealing with as Labour. We've literally just been taken along for a ride. What this is they want us to endorse nonsense, to be frank. They've made a decision. They consulted. The only people they consulted was the same corrupt board and executive management, which is responsible for the crisis that we face at SAA. They are acting on those instructions. They've certainly not consulted Labour. They went ahead and published this information to the media while we are in the process of discussing this very serious issue.
But these are independent business practitioners who are involved in this. Some of them respected, because we've spoken to business practitioners in particular about who was appointed, Phakamile. I want to talk to you about exactly what you're going to do apart from shout and scream about proper process not being followed. Are you looking at the legal route in the end?
I think we need to be very clear, Shahan, that when it comes to the possibility of 10,000 jobs being lost, we will shout and scream. We will protest. We will demonstrate. We have gone to many lengths in order to ensure that workers' jobs are protected. So it is very necessary for us to raise the alarm and raise it very sharply, I might add, about the crisis that we face. It's also very important that members of the public must remember that we got here because of consistent, rampant looting and corruption of the same board, the same executive management, which has been in place. And thirdly, government, the shareholder, has deliberately taken a decision not to intervene in the areas where intervention was demanded. So we have no choice but to scream and shout, as you say. But we will definitely be exercising other options. We are looking at legal avenues, and we will communicate those once we have a way forward.
Just for clarity, you said 10,000 job losses?
Absolutely. You have to understand that, first of all, they're not giving us final numbers of the extent of the restructuring. But from some of the things that we have been told off the record, it's astonishingly high numbers of jobs that could potentially be lost. And we cannot just fold our hands and keep quiet about it. We will do absolutely everything in our power to, first of all, ensure that those who brought us into this mess are going to account for this disaster, and they will pay on all levels for what they've done. But more importantly, we are going to fight to save those jobs and to save the integrity of this business rescue process. I heard you talking about the so-called independence of the practitioner. Well, we can tell you now, we have deep questions about his independence at this point, especially in light of what we've had to endure this week.
So this is what I'm confused about, because I just want to know the number of employees that SAA actually has. Because if you say there are going to be possibly 10,000 job losses, how many employees does the national carrier actually have then?
What I was saying is that if SAA and this business rescue process collapses, we're talking about 10,000 jobs in terms of direct employment at South African Airways, which will be affected if this airline goes under and is liquidated. In terms of what SAA contributes to the value chain, it's much, much higher. There are so many companies that are dependent on South African Airways, so many subsidiaries that are dependent on South African Airways. The retrenchments that take place at SAA will have a massive impact going down on the value chain, not to mention the fact that it is a fact that workers in South Africa support 5 to 7 family members on their income. So if high numbers of employees lose their jobs, it has a massive impact on the economy. This is not something that can be underestimated. And this is why, as unions, we're going to do everything in our power to save these jobs and ensure that a genuine business rescue process is implemented.
All right, thank you.